welcome back to NH Unscripted, where we are your double shot of our baby's love. I am your swinging medallions-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Gong Show-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. No, I am not the unknown comic. You know the routine. I got my Nehru jacket on, my bell-bottom pants, my platform shoes. Your job is to kick back on your waterbed, light the incense, get that lava lamp going. So we have another great show. Break out your transistor radios. All us poor kids got the 8 transistors. The rich kids got the 16. Yeah, it is what it is. No judgment here. You will find us at 1450 AM, 103.9 FM. Those are Concord-based. 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. That's where all the cool kids are lately. I'll give you a little more information on what's taking place out there later. Ooh, I need to thank my sponsor. Yes, ShaheenGordon.com. That's their website. This show is now sponsored by the attorneys at Shaheen Gordon. And in Concord, well, they're all around the state, but basically that's where their headquarters. As far as I'm concerned, I can throw a stone and hit their building almost right from here. Of course, they'd sue me, and then that'd start some kind of circuitous. Never mind. Anyway, I was again out at their website, and I happened to be looking at one of their areas of expertise. Did you know? I had no idea. They do obviously workplace accidents. Top 4 things in a construction accident site are falls from heights, struck by accidents, caught in between accidents, and electrocutions. I had no idea. I don't know if you fall into any of those, but hey, I got ShaheenGordon.com, baby. You just go out to that, use that URL. They are waiting for you. Should you be one of those who need it, you know, everybody should know a good lawyer. Trust me. At some point in your life, either you or somebody you know is going to need a good attorney. 603-614-5560 is their phone number. ShaheenGordon.com, again, is their URL. Write it down. Put it on your fridge. Put it with your important legal papers. All right. In studio with me this morning is Douglas Zechel. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Douglas is an author. And oh, mama, do I have many, many questions for him today. Douglas. Doug, well, I don't know what you prefer, but...
Doug works.
All right. And you can call me sir. Just kidding. Doug, tell me, so your first book came out in 2009, but how long were you thinking about writing before you ever set pen to paper?
Well, let me tell you the story of how this started. I consider myself an accidental author.
Okay.
I was in the restaurant business for 38 years, actually. Towards the end of that run, I knew that I would be closing the restaurant in the not-too-distant future. Long, complicated story, but it was a family feud over selling the property.
It always is.
Whatever. So it happened. And prior to that, I had a woman who bartended for me off and on for almost the entire time I had the restaurant. She had always wanted to write a novel based on all the shenanigans she had seen in the bar over the years. And one night, sitting in the bar, emboldened with too many glasses of red wine, the two of us decided we were going to get that book written. So we came up with a couple thoughts, and we were going to collaborate on this. Neither of us knew exactly what that meant, but as it turned out, I was the only one that put words on paper. And even though we talked through the process continuously, I just got caught up in the process of writing the story that we kind of fleshed out. And I discovered it was just tons of fun. And so that's how it happened. You know, words and wine, you can't go wrong.
There's a lot of words that having wine I need to get back, but not going to happen.
That happens too, yes.
Not going to happen. Let's talk some mechanics here, basically. So you had never written a book before that.
Correct. Had no clue what I was doing.
So you're diving into an area you have no idea about how to start.
Right.
What did you use for software when you first wrote?
I just used, I think it was Microsoft Word, just a Word document.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you're on this this road to publishing. So first of all, you have to write your book, and then you have to find somebody to publish it, right? What was that? I'm sure you didn't know publishers, did you?
I didn't know how to write.
Yeah.
All right.
How does that happen?
Well, this is another good story.
Yeah.
This whole thing is a very interesting saga. So I discovered early on that in order to write a book, because a book is a big project, it's a big entity, you need to do a little bit every day. And I found that consistency of effort was the key component. So every day, every single day, I would get up in the morning and I would write for an hour. That's all I needed to do. I found that I could write a book a year working an hour a day. Now, this is a great job to have. Some days are productive. You get a lot of words on paper. Some days you just stare at the screen and nothing happens.
Chevy Chase is coming to mind right now.
But you just need that consistency of effort. So we just kind of plunged in and started the story, and, it changes as it goes along. It takes some right turns and left turns and so on. But the end result was that after about 4 to 6 months, the original manuscript was finished. And, as the author, it was like, this is great. What a wonderful story.
Of course it would be.
And
of course.
So a friend of mine asked a friend of his who was involved with a small press publisher if she would be kind and give it a read and give me some feedback. And I think he did this more just to shut me up than anything, but she graciously agreed to do this. A couple of months went by, and then before I talked to her again, and she said she had finished it, and we set a date to get together, and we sat down in the bar in my restaurant on a beautiful summer's day and had a couple glasses of wine and talked around the gorilla in the room for as long as we possibly could. And finally she had to say something. And I have to laugh. She looked at me with an absolutely straight face and said, "I really liked your last sentence."
Oh, my God, I'd have been crushed.
And I was like, sweet! And so that began an odyssey of, might have been almost another year and a half to 2 years of writing and rewriting the book.
How did you know which part to rewrite? Did they help you out there?
No.
Oh,
no.
my God.
I think that at least I feel, this is just my feelings, that I can read something, I can read a book, and intuitively I will say, this is really good, or this is really awful. And so after I would finish a version, I'd do nothing for 2 or 3 weeks, then I'd read it as a reader. And I would realize, no, this needs to be developed more. This is stupid. It doesn't follow the timeline. And I would make corrections. And each time I did this, the book gained depth. It gained length. The characters became more filled out. And so I began giving it to friends at about every other version. I think it's versions 3, 5, and 7. I gave it to friends to read. And my two questions that I always had for them were, does the story make sense? And are the characters believable?
Okay, hang on right there. Put a pin in it right there. Ooh, you are listening to NH Unscripted, where the lion sleeps tonight, baby. Yes, I'm your tokens-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the YMCA-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Man, I can smell the pool chlorine from here. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, Concord. 101.9 FM for the beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. Douglas Zechel and I are talking about writing books. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. We are your brother loves traveling salvation show. Yes, yes we are. That makes me your Neil Diamond, my host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the dating game-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Yeah. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your Sony Walkman, who cares? And 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. Doug Zechel's in the house, a.k.a. K.D. Mason. That's what the books are actually written under. Go ahead, sir. I cut you off in the middle of a thought. Let's finish that up.
Okay. So I think I had just said that I had given the book to friends.
Yep.
Then different versions. And the questions were, does the story make sense and are the characters viable, believable? So as long as that came up, yes, then I felt anything else could be fixed and the story could only get better. And that's pretty much what the consensus was each time I went through. So version 3, I got some feedback. It turned into a little more development into version 4, same thing with 5. Version 5, I got more feedback, and again, the answers were yes to those important questions, and but it still wasn't there.
How did you know?
It's just a gut feeling. You just kept seeing, every time I would read it, I would see some little thing that, you need more detail here. You can't just make that leap. You have to... you have to learn to be a storyteller.
It's fascinating that you could be that neutral, that you could be that third-person viewing from it. I don't. Go ahead. I don't know if I could do it.
It gets more interesting.
Oh, gee.
So at the end of the 7th version, I gave it to a good friend of mine. I'm in a running community, so I have a lot of friends who we're all runners. And she is one of these terribly smart, terribly outspoken. She's going to speak her mind and tell you exactly the way it is. And so so she agreed to give it a read. So this one winter night, it was we were running in Hampton Beach. It was after dark in the dead of winter. There were snowbanks, slippery roads. I mean, it was an awful night. But we were out. There was a whole gang of us running. Well, she and I got separated from the gang. And she said, well, I read your book. I said, great. How'd you like it? Now, you have to understand, this is a shortened version of the conversation because we're running and breathing heavy and so on.
Okay.
And I said, well, how'd you like it? And she says, well, I liked it, but. Well, when she said but, I stumbled. And for the next block or two, I was starting to get a little worried.
Yeah.
Finally, I had the courage to say, but what? And she said, well, I'll tell you. You've written a really good story. And by your own admission, you're trying to write a good beach read, a good vacation book. I said, yes. And she said, well, you have one big problem. I said, what's that? And she said, every good beach read needs to have a couple pages. You tab the corner down because there's sex. Because it gets a little dirty. You have none of that.
Pro tip?
You have none of that in this book. Fix it. That's when I did genuinely trip and fall in a snowbank. So the next several weeks, I wrestled with this issue.
I'll bet.
Because knowing that everyone has heard the saying, you write what you know. Yeah. Okay. So, and I just said, dang, I'm going to end up divorced. This is not good.
Dark rabbit hole coming up here.
Oh, it was looking grim. The long and the short is that I figured out how I was going to handle it. And that was by trying to set a table to let the reader's mind fill in all the blanks.
Brilliant.
To, give enough details to set the scene. But they're going to figure it out. And I think that's working.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it did take me a couple years before I was finally able to convince all my friends that, no, this is the way I think it ought to be, not the way it is.
Oh.
And my wife got a lot of teasing. But long and short, rewrote it one more time, had version 8, gave it back to the woman who liked my last sentence. And this time it took her less than 2 weeks to call me back. All excited, she said, you have become a writer, and we're going to get you published.
Gold star, my friend.
And that's where it began.
Okay.
So for that version and the second book, the first 2 books, I worked with that small press publishing company in getting the books published. I learned about publishing. There's a lot of stuff I learned. And it was a very successful relationship for me. However, by the time we got to the third book, they were unable to get things done in the time frame that needed to happen. And so we had a very amicable parting. And that was the point at which I decided to self-publish from then on.
Man, oh man.
And my question to him was, and he admitted it was his fault that things weren't happening. I said, well, will you at least introduce me to the people that you work with, the cover designer, the interior layout, your editors, copy editors, et cetera, et cetera. And let me contact them and see if I can't get this project done. And he said, well, that's the least I can do. So he made some calls. And he also gave me the caveat that, now you got to understand, these people pretty much just work with professional publishing houses, and I don't know if they're going to want to work with you. And I said, well, that's okay. So I started making calls. Every single call. As soon as I explained what was going on, it was like, of course I'd love to do this.
Really?
They were excited. Yes.
Well, talk about setting you up in the wrong direction there.
And the end result was that within 8 to 10 weeks, I had books sitting in my living room that he hadn't been able to even get to that point.
Really?
6 months before. And I said, what the hell does he do all day long?
My God.
And so that's when the transition to self-publishing. Now, here's the thing. Self-publishing, I use Amazon for printing the books, okay? And they have a great self-publishing platform. There are others out there. That's just the one I've been using. And one of the things about self-publishing is that the ease with which it can be done, the flood of books on the market is enormous.
I imagine. Yeah, good point.
And the vast majority, honestly, are probably pretty awful.
I can imagine.
It really does require having a professional copy editor to work with, to have a professional cover designer, to have these different services, proofreaders and so on, that are going to take you from what you've done, which is probably decent, but to take it to that next level where it really becomes polished and good. And I've met other new authors, and almost instantly you can tell when you open the book, when you look at the book and then you open it, you read a little bit, you can tell whether or not they've done that. You can't do those things yourself. I don't care how talented you think you are. You need those other eyes to look at it. And so I have a wonderful editor that I work with. I've been with her for every one of my books. And, you know, after she gets the book, she'll give me a synopsis, and then she proceeds to go into detail on it.
Hang on. Pin number 2. We're putting a pin in that one right there, too. Hang on, baby. You are listening to NH Unscripted. Yeah, we're your bridge over troubled water. I'm your Simon and Garfunkel-like host, Ray Dudley. You are listening to us on your Walkmans, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM. Can't get 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. Doug Zechel's in the house, and we are talking the mechanics about writing. We're going to flesh out a few more nuts and bolt things here when we get back. Hang on. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. Don't give me no hand-me-down world. I'm your Guess Who-like host, Ray Dudley. Yeah, coming to you from the Taj Mahal-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. My God, it's cavernous in here. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your transistor radios. NHTalkRadio.com is our URLs. KD Mason is in the house. I know you thought Doug Zechel. Playing a little game of musical chairs here. Doug, KD, forgive me. I needed to get out some nuts and bolts earlier to talk about who's the character, the main character? How did you come up with that? Where do people find your books? You said Amazon, but do you have a website as well? But who's the character and what is it?
Okay. So my protagonist character, probably my main character, is a man named Jack Beale. And Jack is just a very ordinary person, a little bit too easygoing. No, very, way too easygoing. He's probably late 40s, early 50s, so he's well into his life. But he would just as soon sit back, watch the world go by, enjoy a beer, eat a burger, and sit on a boat. He is one of the last people to understand relationships. And
this is where it's hard to write about the sex part then.
Yeah. It's very hard to write about. And in the first book, you know, he develops what he sees as a relationship. His problem is that he doesn't think to clue in the other half that this is a real relationship. So things go horribly awry, and it takes the second book for him to figure this out and then to begin to try and fix it. So it's kind of an ongoing battle. The most common comment I get about Jack is that boy just needs a slap upside the head.
Oh, man.
Which makes it fun. Now, Jack is also, he's a sailor and he's a runner. So those activities will play into the stories. And one of the things that I've done through the series, because now I'm working on book 14. There's 13 books out.
Of God.
And so after that first book came out and I decided to continue, part of the decision was to keep Jack and all of his friends. So it's an ensemble cast that we follow their lives along. And like I said, they're just ordinary people, but they have a real knack for finding trouble or it finding them. So common themes through the books. There's a little mystery. There's a little suspense. Yes, you do have to have some romance. And once in a while, we do toss in dead bodies, and you kind of mix it all up. And I like to think that the end result is this little world that I have created is so much more fun than the one we're actually living in.
Thank you.
This is a great escape.
Thank you.
And and I have an amazing fan base that tell me this every time I see them. My biggest complaint with my fan base is I don't write as fast as they read. Oh. So I have this small nucleus.
Great problem to have.
I have a small nucleus that's perpetually angry with me because I don't have the next book ready.
Wow.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
And a couple things that I've done with the stories that I think are interesting. The fourth book is primarily a running-centered story. It was inspired by a trail marathon. And with that book, I began putting recipes in the back of the books.
What?
So if there are meals or that are used in the story, I put the recipes in the back of the books.
What?
And well worth trying. Absolutely worth trying. And the seventh book, I had another brilliant idea, and that was that I now include a page called Reality in the Fiction of, and the title of the book. And what I'm doing is I set scenes in real places. I don't change names. I did in the first early books pretty transparently, but, I really didn't change much. But now scenes are set in real places, and in the back there will be a list of that in the order they came in, what chapter it was, this, this place and their website. So, for example, in the seventh book where I started this, there's a restaurant in Camden, Maine called The Waterfront. And I set some scenes in that restaurant. So, and the meals that my characters ordered were from that restaurant. So when you look in that list, there's the Waterfront restaurant, here's their website. So you can go to that and you can actually look at pictures of the place, you can see the place, you can look at their menu. And I think that gives a little bit more reality to what is a very fictional story. Mm-hmm. I think it's fun.
Oh, man.
And I figure, free publicity for them.
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. So it's a win-win all the way around. I think it's fun.
I have so many questions now. So many questions.
Go for it.
All right. Why do you write under the moniker K.D. Mason?
Well, when I first started, I had no idea whether this would actually work or not.
Yep.
And if it was a total bust,
so
I could walk away and nobody would know the difference. How's that?
Smart.
I thought K.D. Mason just sounded good. It sounded like a name of someone who would write mysteries. It sounds better than my name. The K.D. is my son's initials. Mason is my daughter's middle name.
Got you.
So,
as time has gone on, has your style changed at all? Have you matured as you write? Like the first one you wrote, it had a certain flavor to it,
yep,
and certain cadence and all that. Now you're getting ready for your 14th. Do you see an evolution in your writing?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah? In what way?
I think the stories maybe get a little more intricate. I think just the way the words are put on the paper has improved.
Yeah?
I've had a number of people, as the series has gone on, have said, man, your books have really gotten good. I had one guy that was, he said number 12 was far and away his favorite. He said it changed the way the book was structured, the way the story was structured. He said it really grabbed him. I find that I call myself a visual writer because as I'm writing, I'm seeing, simultaneous to the putting the words on the paper, I am seeing the scenes as you would if you were watching a movie or something. And so all at the same time, I have a blank screen on which I am then seeing the action happening, and then I have to write that action down, translate it into words, so that when you read it, you see it.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think that is improving. I think that, people can really visualize this. And this leads into one of the beauties of books, is that, and nothing against the film and, video industry, but there's a character on the screen, and that's the way you see the character. That's it. That's what the guy looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have that kind of description of my characters. You get to know them by lots of little clues, things they do, the way they move, whatever. But I can't tell you exactly what Jack Beale looks like. And so when you're reading, you're exercising your mind because you're filling in how you visualize those characters. My job as the author is to set the table and let your mind work.
Man, okay. Man, we are running out of time. Happens all the time. Oh, I'm fascinated. You are listening to NH Unscripted. Yeah, we should be on the cover of the Rolling Stone. I am your Dr. Hook-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the not-so-overly ostentatious digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, 101.9 FM on your transistor radios if you're in Manchester, one of you beautiful souls down there. KD Mason, a.k.a. Doug Zechel's in the house, and we are talking nuts and bolts about writing. And yes, I have more questions. We will be right back. Welcome back, you lucky listeners, to NH Unscripted. Yeah, it's a hot time summer in the city. I am your loving spoonful-like host, Ray Dudley. Yes, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord. Our URL, by the way, is nhtalkradio.com, where if you were to go out there, you would find a link, a button that you could click, and you can listen to this show live, or actually any of the programs that take place here at the studio, or if you care to, everything is archived. So you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, get your warm milk, and you're like, what was that author that chubby guy was talking about? Yeah, I need to re-listen to that. Yeah, you can go out there. It's all archived. NHtalkradio.com. All right, one more URL, www.kdmason.com, www.kdmason.com is Doug's URL. You can reach him if you need to at doug@kdmason.com as well. Sir, so you're up to 14 books. How are you keeping them fresh? And B, do you see an end down the road? I have 3 questions. And I'll leave it there for now. So That should be enough. Go ahead.
I'll take the last one first.
Okay.
At this point, I don't see an end down the road, other than my demise. It's
okay.
just
Okay.
I'm old enough that's on the horizon.
Oh, I see that photo myself.
It's fun. It's an adventure. When I get up in the morning to sit down and write, I don't know where the characters are going to take me. They write the stories.
So you don't have like an idea that pops in like, oh, he needs to be...
No.
I don't know what it would be, but because I'm not a writer.
No, the characters write the stories.
Wow.
Each story begins with some little nugget of something. And it could turn out that that's something in the beginning of the book. It could be in the end of the book. I'm just filling in the blanks and turning it into a cohesive story. But Jack and his friends, they live in my head. They're my friends and family. They're there all the time. We're doing things together. But it's just fun. It really is. And what I have found, one of the things that makes it even more fun is getting out in the public, selling my books, and talking to people about the books. And that really helps keep you going, because people get seriously invested in these stories, which never ceases to amaze me. I do go to libraries, I go to book clubs, I go to bookstores, but those are all very small events, where, if you have a dozen people there, that's usually a pretty good crowd.
Dang.
Simply because I'm not at the level of a Dan Brown who would pack a bookstore, okay? However, for me to be able to do this, I have to sell books. It's a business.
Sure.
We're not going to I'm not going to hide that fact.
Right.
And I have found that I go to a lot of craft fairs. I've gone to farmers markets.
Are they successful?
And I make money every time I go out.
Well, that's successful.
And some are very, very successful. And it gives me a chance to talk directly to people that are fans of the books. I get feedback from them, and it really keeps you going. Sometimes, you picture writers as, very introverted people, and they kind of sit, in their typewriter in their room, and they're writing these stories and stuff, but they're very uncomfortable being out with the public. Well, I love being out with the public. I love chatting with people. I love talking with people. And it's great. And sometimes I get my friends into the books. My latest book, Book 13, I was looking for a name for a character. And I was just, whatever. And I ran into a friend of mine. And it hit me. I said, hey, how'd you like to get killed in my next book? And he went, that would be so cool. So, consequently, he became a major character in that story. Sadly, did not make it to the last page.
As promised.
But he loved it, and we still have fun with it.
Man, oh man. Let me give out your website one more time.
Yes, please.
www.kdmason.com. People go out there, what will they find at the website?
Well, you're going to be able to look at descriptions of all the books. I try to keep my schedule updated of where I'm going to be. Most importantly, you can order books directly from me. Books, yes, they're available at a number of stores and locations in the Seacoast. They are available on Amazon, but far and away the best is to order directly from me.
Got you.
You will always get a signed copy.
Nice.
You won't get that from Amazon.
No kidding.
Okay? And every book that I sell, either through my website or at a live event, I donate $1 from each sale to the world's central kitchen.
What?
And I've been doing that for a couple of years now.
Wow.
And every now and then I look and I say, whoa, I really gave these guys a lot of money.
Yeah? That's impressive.
And, so I really encourage people to go directly to my website.
Yeah.
Ebooks, the books are available in ebook format. That you have to go to Amazon
Right.
or one of those other
that ends
sources.
up being Kindle or whatever.
Yeah, for Kindle books. But
you did say that to me earlier that you only have one that's on audiobook, right?
Yes, unfortunately, only the first book is out as an audio book. It was a very interesting project. It's daunting. I found it very daunting, and it was a
Can
interesting.
you just go out to Fiverr and hire somebody to like?
Well,
I have no idea how it works.
Well,
so.
basically, you end up going out to find the right voice to do it, and you can get voices. People to contact you. They say they're interested in the project. You put the project out there.
Yep.
And you send them a passage. They do it as a demo, and they send it back to you. And you listen. They're all different, but they're all really good. And I had a point where I had 4 different auditions. I couldn't decide between them. I gave them to a dozen friends. I said, well, rate them. And you know what? Came out an even split all the way across the board. 4 of them like number 1, 3 of them like number 2, 3 of them like number 3. So it was like, well, you guys are no help whatsoever. But ultimately, I did find someone. I think he did a great job.
Yeah.
But it's the biggest thing is it's expensive.
Oh.
And I have never sold enough of the audio books to recoup what I spent. Whereas with my print books, I know what I'm going to be selling, I all that money I spend to produce the books, I'm making it back.
Yeah.
And then some.
Good for you.
So I'd love to do more, get more audiobooks done. People ask me, well, do you read your own book? I said, no. I have a voice made for radio. No, I have a voice made for newspapers and a face made for radio. So, no, I'm not going to do that.
I want to ask you, pro tip here, do
Yeah.
you ever read the reviews in like Amazon or anything?
Rarely.
Yeah. Why?
Just never find the time to sit down and look them up.
Oh, I thought you would like, no, I can't because I'd change my mind all the time if I had to go off all these different...
No, they've anytime, my wife will look them up once in
Yeah?
a while, and, they always seem to be very favorable. I haven't had any, I don't recall any that really raked me over the coals. I mean, I believe in my stories, and I have enough people that believe in the stories and that are totally wrapped up with these characters. Little side note, I hope we have time for this.
So far.
The 4th book.
Yeah.
Okay, again, the one where I started putting recipes in the books. With that book, a new character came into the mix.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to tease you with that one.
Oh,
we'll leave that there.
Oh, my gosh. Dang it. www.kdmason.com is his URL. Go out there. Get a book. You are listening to NH Unscripted, baby, where the lion sleeps tonight. I am your tokens-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Green Acres Like Digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, where Mr. Haney would be happy to say you want rungs with that ladder. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. ShaheenGordon.com is the URL of our sponsor. You can listen to this show live every Wednesday and Friday at 9 a.m., you lucky listener. Doug, thank you so much for coming by.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes.